Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you to this call. Today is April 24th, 2024. If you run those numbers backwards, it's still 42424, so we got some mathematical perfection here coming and going. First, I want to apologize for not being able to get on the call last week. I had no idea why I was not able to get into the call. We tried for several days thereafter, and we decided basically to start all over as though we were creating a new account, and was able to get in today. We've written down the entire protocol, so if we have a problem in the future, we're going to try to get into the call much earlier so that we have enough time to resolve the issue. Again, I apologize for not being able to get on, particularly since there's a lot going on to discuss, and we have a lot of individuals that have contacted us to establish a trust. We are working as quickly as we can. I do have one mild suggestion to offer for some individuals that are not quite being as patient as we would like. There are individuals that received our initial trust package 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, and now they contact us and they want their trust immediately. We're doing the best we can. We're not not using favoritism in any way. We're creating the trust packages as they come in. But again, for those of you that had an opportunity to establish the package much earlier, unfortunately, it's like Black Friday over here right now. Again, we're moving as quickly as we can. I probably have certainly over 50 and probably closer to 100 individuals that I need to contact, and I'll be spending probably the rest of today and tomorrow just to catch up with what's coming in. But I wanted to explain that for those of you that are getting a little impatient. We're literally doing the best that we can. But let's go ahead and get into today's call. First, by way of disclaimer, of course, the dinar is a speculative investment, and we're not recommending either the sale or purchase of these currencies, the dinar and these other currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information we believe to be most relevant. Of course, the most relevant piece of information would be the window for the potential reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. As I've said on previous calls, the reinstitution, as far as I'm concerned, is done. Everything's done. It's just a matter of dotting I's and crossing T's and then making the official announcement. I'm going to run through a little brief timeline here because in my mind, and again, this is just my opinion, I don't see how they can get beyond May without adjusting the exchange rate. There's simply not enough USD in reserve in Iraq to even come close to funding their budget, let alone funding all of the international contracts to rebuild their infrastructure. So that being the case, they started the glide path when they basically took the dollar, the U.S. dollar, out of circulation in country. To me, that was the point of no return. And again, the U.S. dollars that are remaining can only be utilized at this point, in my opinion, probably to fund international contracts or just to hold as a reserve currency. And I just don't see how the nation-state of Iraq can function without their own currency. So we're in a position now where they've got to move forward, or they actually risk being a failed state, and they're certainly going to not allow that to happen. That beeping sound you hear are texts that are coming in, which unfortunately are coming in during this call, but I expect this to continue. The phone won't stop ringing. So I want to review briefly the timeline that I discussed a few weeks ago as we get to the final phase of the monetary reform, which is the reinstitution of their currency. Of course, in Iraq, they celebrated Ramadan from March 9th to April 8th, which is a period of prayer and fasting to be followed immediately by Eid al-Fitr, which is a period of feasting, celebration, gift-giving, and that went from April 9th to April 14th. Then on April 15th, Sudani and Alak, along with a delegation, went to the United States to discuss banking reforms, monetary reforms, and the like. Things went very well. I'll be touching on some of the things that occurred there. But that's why, in my opinion, they've set everything up now where it's not only time, it's past time for them to reinstitute their currency. Now, of course, there's always seems to be something going on either in the Middle East or domestically in this country, which is affecting the reinstatement, or at least people feel it's affecting the reinstatement. I remember when the value of the dinar started to drop against the dollar, I received a lot of contacts from people that were very angry and frustrated. They're saying, Jim, this thing's never going to happen. The currency's going in the wrong direction, to which I responded, it's going in the wrong direction because they're trying to collect the provisional 3-0 currencies, particularly the ones that are floating around outside of the country, held by nefarious individuals, not us, individuals that purchased them from registered agents, and we'll be able to produce that purchase order, that invoice, when we go to an American bank to exchange the currency. They're concerned about, again, some of the nefarious individuals, some of which are even funding some of the terrorist activities in the Middle East and other places. So that's not really an issue. Then, of course, what we've had is this fear of a war in the Middle East, promulgated by the activities of Iran's proxies, which is the same thing as Iran. And people are concerned that Iraq could get dragged into that. And there's actually been some activity within Iraq. And I understand why that would be of concern, but I don't really think that it's going to stop what's happening. And you could make a counter argument that this is going to hasten the reinstitution of the dinar, which would in turn cement the freedom of the nation state of Iraq that has unfortunately been in the clutches of Iran for decades. And of course, the war in the Middle East, it is a frustrating situation. It's based on the desire of a number of, how am I going to say this? I don't want to blame Islam. I don't want to blame Arab nations together, but there are certain very aggressive nations like Iran that want to exterminate the nation state of Israel. I mean, if you look at the Middle East area, going from China and then heading east all the way to North Africa, if that area was the size of your body, Israel would be about the size of a thumbnail. Israel is basically the size of the state of Delaware, and yet it's been fixated upon by the entire Middle East. But Israel's been around for a long time. The Israelis have inhabited that land, borne the name of Israel, spoken the same language, and worshiped the same God uninterruptedly, despite all of the war and terror for 3,000 years, and no other country can make that claim. But it's unfortunate that it's happening. But we have problems in this country too. We can break people down into three categories. There is the large-minded individual that deals with ideas, with concepts. Then we have the average individual who tends to get fixated on particular events. And then we have the small-minded individuals that are fixated on people or groups of peoples. That's really unfortunate, and that's always been with us, and it always will. I'll give you one example because it really, I tend to take these people with a grain of salt, and I roll my eyes at, well, to each his own. However, I guess it was over a week ago, there was an interview on Bill Maher with Katie Couric. Remember, little Katie Couric, who had her morning show. She was the belle of the ball in the morning. And then she moved to hard news at prime time, and she basically crashed and burned. And listening to the comments that she made about people in this country, I can understand why she crashed and burned. She referred to, quote-unquote, MAGA people as people who are anti-intellectual and suffer from class resentment. And Bill Maher, who's usually very adroit at sort of deflecting, loaded comments like that, was kind of at a loss for words. But it's a shame this is the case. Trump, for all of the criticism he got about his tweets, if you go back, you can't find a tweet where he actually went after the citizen, the voter, the American people. Rightly or wrongly, he went after his political enemies. But the left, and Katie is a member of the left, card-carrying member, finds it necessary to basically do a Hillary Clinton and trash half of the country. I just wanted to touch on what she said. First, she said that the MAGA movement is fundamentally anti-intellectual. The MAGA movement is about a return to constitutional governance. The Constitution, written by one of the most brilliant minds of their time, individuals who used as their mentors the Enlightenment, individuals like Sir Francis Bacon and John Locke. The United States Constitution, in my opinion, is the greatest single document ever created by men. And the Bill of Rights not only acknowledged our humanity, but the rights that exist because we exist. So for her to call the MAGA movement anti-intellectual, the anti-intellectuals are the leftist Marxists that she evidently approves of. The other thing she said was they suffer from class resentment, which is an even more absurd statement. The only thing the quote-unquote MAGA people want is to be left the hell alone. They want the government to operate within the constraints of the Constitution and particularly the Bill of Rights. And incidentally, for those of you that don't know that, the progressive movement in the early 19th century utilized the word progressive not in the way that you would think, meaning to progress, to evolve, to get better. Specifically, it was to progress beyond the colloquial constraints of the Constitution, meaning the government didn't have enough ability to run your life. The progressive movement in this country was reborn with the presidency of Barack Obama, who told us he was going to fundamentally transform this country. He also said that the Bill of Rights was a list of negative rights because it limited the government's ability. Well, that was done for a reason. We see what progressive government looks like. The last 3 years has been the de-evolution of our system. Hopefully this can be corrected. One of the ways as individuals we can resolve this, or at least exempt ourselves from a lot of the crap that they're doing, is by establishing a family package of irrevocable trusts. A package that we've marketed specifically to denarians for benefits that I will explain a little later. But as an American citizen, we should exercise our 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights, and establishing such a trust is a preemptive way of doing that. Unfortunately, the country right now is in chaos. And we have a chance with the revaluation of these currencies, at least as far as our friends and families, close associates are, to build a financial wall of protection which will allow us to live our lives irrespective of how they try to destroy the economy, to be able to send our children to good schools, to be able to provide for retirement benefits, for health care benefits, to provide for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren, to create a legacy for them. And one of the things that's necessary to create an intergenerational legacy is by establishing a trust package that exists beyond a given generation and moves the wealth forward to future generations. I know I digress a little bit, but that interview really irritated me, and sometimes I just got to get that off of my chest, and having these weekly calls allows me to do that. So let's get back to the subject at hand, and let's talk a little bit about why, in my opinion, we should be in the banks before the end of May. Talk a little bit about Sudani and Alak and the progress that they've made. And, of course, they are making great progress, but it was Dr. Shabibi who plowed the road, because it's his monetary policies that are being followed. Now, Dr. Shabibi was the governor of the CBI from 2000, CBI in Iraq from 2003 to 2012. And had the United States Treasury just gotten out of the way, I think we could have seen the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar 10 years ago, perhaps even longer or than that. But the problem was the president of the United States at the time was Barack Obama. And he was able, through the U.S. Treasury, to stop the reinstitution of the currency. And he did it for geopolitical reasons, and he did it for domestic political reasons. Geopolitically, President Obama was pro-Iranian. And Iraq was a little piggy banked for Iran. And evidently, Barack Obama saw no reason to liberate the country by allowing their currency to revalue. Domestically, Barack Obama's anti-capitalist. And the last thing in the world he wanted to see was 10 or 15 million Americans not only be enriched from the reinstitution of the dinar, but they weren't going to vote for larger government and higher taxes. And, of course, that's the foundation of the fundamental transformation that he had intended. So for that reason, all of this was unnecessarily postponed. But those days are over. I do not think anything can stop what's happening. I don't think the Biden administration can stop it. I don't think China or Russia can stop it. I don't think a war in the Middle East can stop it. And that's why I think that we will be in the banks before the end of May. Now, Sudani and Alak have been working with the U.S. Treasury, and that's why they had a meeting here in the United States. They've also been working with the World Bank, the IMF, and the Bank of International Settlements. They've been working in three fundamental areas: their banking reforms, economic and financial reforms, and to complete the monetary reform, the culmination of which, of course, is the revaluation of these currencies. So let's take them one at a time. With regard to the banking reform, the meetings in the United States, they resolved the issue with the U.S. Treasury regarding the 28 sanctioned banks in Iraq. So the banking issue is dealt with. Economically, there should be the passage of the new labor and social security law in the month of May in Iran. Now, this law ensures the rights of the workers to their salaries, to their saving, to their retirement, building the private sector. That was a critical piece, too. And lastly, the financial reform. Both Alak and Sudani have stated publicly the objective is to increase the purchasing power of their sovereign currency. And Sudani even uttered the words, lift the 3 zeros and release the lower denominations. That is the reinstatement. That's it. They have told us publicly that they are going to do everything that defines the reinstitution and revaluation of their currency. So that's where we are today. This is good news for us. As I said, things are not going that well in the Middle East. because of the saber rattling of Iran. A lot of the protests here in this country which need to be dealt with. And things are not particularly going well for the economy in this country. We're into an election year, so there's a lot going on that could affect us. But if we play our cards right, go to the banks, do our exchange, pay our taxes, invest the money wisely, make sure that it's protected in trust, not only from the possibility of civil litigation, but from government undue interference, we should ourselves do very, very well. Now, I want to touch on the benefits of our package. And again, I want to do it in the context not only of individuals that happen to hold currencies like the dinar, but in terms of what's going on in this country domestically. As I stated earlier, I feel as though we're in the second progressive movement in this country. The first one began, of course, in the early 19th century. This is why they created the Federal Reserve and the federal income tax, why they've tried to centralize everything in this country. They're patient people, but they're beginning to lose patience because they're showing their hand. We hear a lot about how they're trying to save our democracy. Well, we're not a democracy, so when they say our, they may think we believe them to mean all of us, but they mean the one-party social democracy that they're trying to create. And how do we know that they're trying to create it? Well, the election interference is off the charts right now. I don't care whether you love Trump or hate Trump. If you love the country, this has to be disturbing to see what's going on. Any first-year law student ought to see the absolute absurdity of these cases that they're bringing. A case that was a misdemeanor that's beyond the statute of limitation is being bootstrapped to a felony charge for which the state does not have jurisdiction. That's a federal charge. And all the federal agencies looked at it and walked away. If that's not election interference, I don't know what is. They don't even have to win the case. They just have to keep Donald Trump, the contender for the position of president, in the courtroom so that Joe Biden can stumble around in the basement and not have to do anything. Or if he goes out there, Trump can't respond. No one should be proud of that strategy or think that's a good thing if you love the country. But this is what the people who want to save our democracy want to do. They want to stack the Supreme Court. They want to end the Electoral College. They want to end the Senate filibuster, taking away all minority rights. They want to stack the House of Representatives. Now, how do they do that? Well, they let all the illegal aliens in, and we're between 9 and 10 million now, and then they demand that illegal aliens, non-citizens, be included on the census so that they can get more representatives in the House. They want to either amend or repeal the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, and the 10th Amendment. And they want to create a central bank digital currency so that they can obliterate the Fourth Amendment and monitor everything we do. This is not a good look. This is not constitutional. It's not patriotic. And anyone that subscribes to this, let me put it this way, any politician who subscribes to this list has violated his oath of office and ought to be removed. Now, again, the trust package that we established was initially established to provide benefits for those of us that have dinar and these other currencies. I'm going to touch very briefly on those benefits, but I want you to think of those benefits not in terms of you as an individual that has these currencies. I'd like you to think about these benefits as an American citizen, again, who simply wants to be left alone, who wants the Bill of Rights honored and respected, who wants to live their life without having to look to some other authority for permission to do the things that, frankly, are none of their business. By establishing this trust package, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity because your net worth, the things that you own that are in your family trust, are sealed. It's no one's business what you possess. It's no one's business what you purchase. It's no one's business where you vacation. It's no one's business who you vote for, what organizations you belong in. Second benefit, to avoid IRS scrutiny. The IRS has become a very pernicious group of individuals. The digital currency is designed to give them more power. But one thing about the IRS, and it's this, they like to move quickly, they like the low-hanging fruit. The IRS will hesitate to audit an individual with a very sophisticated trust package because they will assume rightly that you have very sophisticated legal assistance. And they'd much rather go after poor Joe Lunchbox, who isn't in a position to deal with the IRS. Now, if you hold these currencies and you've assigned them to the trust before they revalue, the taxable event of that revaluation will occur within the trust, not to you personally. So not only would the IRS not be able to do an audit of you personally because the currencies, again, appreciated within the trust, they can't really do an audit of the trust. Certainly can't do a 6-year audit because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself. The third benefit is pre-RV gifting. This trust package has a special sub-trust within it. So by gifting currencies to family and friends, ordinarily you can avoid the federal gift tax. But if you gift those pre-RV currencies to friends and family through the trust, not only will you avoid the federal gift tax, but you will have complete control of the post-RV proceeds. And there are situations where you want to help somebody, but you're hesitant for any number of reasons to give them the lump sum. By utilizing that gift sub-trust, again, you avoid the federal gift tax, and you still have control of the post-RV proceeds. The fourth benefit, this trust will allow you to avoid the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. Because the currencies are in trust, there is no probate. The assets are just administered to the prospective beneficiaries pursuant to the instructions within the trust, and you avoid the federal estate tax. The federal estate tax can be as high as 65% of your estate, in excess of $12 million. So an individual that has an estate of, say, $100 million, approximately $90 million of that $100 million is exposed to the federal estate tax. You could easily lose half of that just to pay the federal estate tax. However, that $100 million is in our trust. The federal estate tax is zero. It would be saving your estate $50 million. The fifth benefit, most important benefit, is the asset protection provided by this trust. Pre-RV and post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust will allow you to avoid something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Very simply, it means this. You buy $10 million dinar for $10,000, transfer the currencies to the trust. They subsequently revalue for $10 million. Can you be sued for $10 million? No. Why? Because the currencies were only worth $10,000 when you transferred them to the trust. Therefore, you can only be sued for the $10,000. Well, an individual who thinks they're going to sue you for $10 million is going to walk away when they find out the only thing they could ever win would be $10,000. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you've acquired this wealth. This protection is afforded to you through a strategy called segregation of assets. What this means is as you acquire assets post-RV, like homes, cars, boats, etc., you place each of them in their own separate sub-trust to be managed by the master trust, the single trust that was established pre-RV to hold your assigned currencies. By segregating the assets this way, you limit any potential lawsuit because all of the assets are in separate trusts. So, for example, if you're being sued because of a car accident, that would only involve the subtrust that has ownership of the vehicle. All of your other assets are owned by separate subtrusts, which under the law are separate legal entities or persons having nothing whatsoever to do with the accident in question. Therefore, the plaintiff would have no standing to pursue them. These are all very, very important benefits, whether you hold currencies or not. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV and financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, one gift subtrust, which is an optional subtrust, which can be converted to a standard subtrust, and then 8 additional standard subtrusts to hold homes, cars, boats, etc. Now, this package was a simplification of a more sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided to market the trust to denarians, we knew that price tag would be unaffordable for many. So by simplifying the package and doing all of the heavy lifting post-RV, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. There are several ways you can pay for that. Pay us up front, we'll discount the price to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. That's not possible. We even have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which would basically offset our out-of-pocket cost just to produce and deliver your trust package to you. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the Iraqi dinar revalues globally, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. With this approach, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for getting their trust in force and their affairs in order pre-RV should be in a position to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would be less than the $100 a month you'd pay under a deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Again, our objective is to help you get your affairs in order prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies for all of the reasons that I stated. Now, I do want to go to a Q&A, but before I do, I want to mention one other thing to you about our trust package. You can contact us to get our initial package. It does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're under no obligation to do so. This trust package was written by our attorney, Robert Bly. He's been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, specializing in the areas of estate planning, offshore planning, and asset protection. I myself hold degrees in political science, macroeconomics, and finance. I've worked in these areas myself for over 40 years, and I, along with my clients, were personally involved in the reinstatement of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s. So between the two of us, Robert Bly and I have over 80 years' experience working precisely in these areas. It's important for you to understand, particularly since you're holding these currencies, that under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them or lose them outright. And invariably it comes at particularly those times that you need and want control. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death, and prolonged and complicated probate processes as a result. Then there are, of course, investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of information age, believe it or not, is identity theft. If any of you have been watching the TV, you've seen these new supposed squatters' rights where an individual goes on a vacation and someone just squats in the home and tries to take possession of it. They're finally turning that around, but this is the kind of thing that can happen. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you anticipate a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre and post-RV as we understand them. So let's go ahead and open our Q&A. While I'm waiting for any potential questions, first, again, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. It has a lot of information about us, about the trust, about our services, the revaluation, and the like. And again, you're under no obligation whatsoever from getting the package. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. If you decide you wish to proceed, then everything you need to proceed is included in the package. And we got a ton of questions here. So let's get to our first caller here, which is area code 808. That's 808. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Good morning. Unexpected.
Hey,
Daisy from Hawaii.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
That's good. That's good.
I need for you to get hold of me so I can correct my stupid request or tear it up.
All right, Daisy. I'm writing your phone number down. Just a sec. I got it on the screen, but obviously I don't want to repeat it or don't want you to give it to me.
Yeah, I get enough crazy calls.
No, I won't be crazy. I will give you a call I'll give you a call this afternoon after this call's over, okay?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, any other questions?
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
No,
all right.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. You take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, our next caller is area code 603. That's 603. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. It's Don down in Florida. How you been?
Don, how you doing?
Oh, man, if I was any better, I'd be twins. That's my standard answer. You know
I knew you were
that.
going to say that. I don't know.
Hey, listen, Jim, there's been a lot of concern, a lot of controversy back and forth. How is this LOP or the deletion of the zeros going to affect us when we go to bank?
Right.
Some people are saying a 25 is going, a 25,000 is going to be 25, and maybe we'll get $3 a piece or something. What's going to happen there?
All right. That shouldn't affect us at all. I do not believe it will affect us at all. I do not think it can affect us at all. One of the reasons individuals are saying that is because somehow it would be deemed as hyperinflationary for a rock. Now, that's not what's going to happen. When you take your $25,000 note to an American bank to exchange it, you're getting U.S. dollars for that note. So if there's any inflationary pressure, it's on our currency and us. The Treasury Department will then take that currency, that provisional 25,000 dinar note, and they will return that to the CBI in return for some benefit that they will negotiate. Whether it's right of first refusal for infrastructure contracts, deals on the purchase of oil, whatever the United States Treasury, United States government is going to negotiate with the nation state of Iraq, that's between them. But remember, they've been selling this currency to central banks, international hedge funds, large currency arbitrage conglomerates and the like. So they would be defrauding us if they said you purchased a 25,000 dinar note, which you can later exchange for, say, $1, and then say, oh, no, It's a 25, not a 25,000 dinar note. The removal of the 3 zeros will affect the citizens of Iraq in possession of the provisional 3-0 currency, not international organizations and individuals that purchase the provisional currency as an investment and to assist Iraq. That's my view on it.
Okay, well, hopefully it works out that way because people, my friends and family that have dinar, they're on the phone sometimes with me when they read some of the things on the guru site, say that, oh my God, I got 5 million dinar, so it's only going to be 5,000 dinar when they do that.
Right. Well, you know what's funny? Even if that was the case, they'd make money, but they just wouldn't make nearly as much money as they thought. But remember, there are people out there that are saying that possession of the currency is a scam, that the dinar is never going to revalue. So, I guess we all have our opinion. In my opinion, and I will say this, when the Kuwaiti dinar revalued, I got my bang for my buck. They didn't do a LOP. They didn't do the redenomination on me where they said my 25 Kuwaiti dinar note, 25,000 Kuwaiti dinar note was only worth 25 Kuwaiti dinar. That didn't happen then, so I don't see it happening now. Okay.
Gotcha. And we're still going to recruit you for president someday.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
No, that's not going to happen. Well, I'm out of here when this is done. I'm going to be sitting on a beach somewhere, sucking on a mint julep, playing with my grandchildren. I'm gone.
I heard that. Sir. Anyway, we were all confused last week, but missed you last week. Everything we know, computer crap happens sometimes.
Well, I didn't. I wasn't aware that I couldn't get into the call last week till I couldn't get into the call.
Okay, well, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. Yeah. So anyway, hey, I got a quick question for you. I may have asked you this in the past, so let's see if you have a good memory. Do you know how many seconds are in a year?
Well, that would be 60 times 60 times 24 times 365.
Now you're overthinking, Jim. There's 12 seconds in a year. You got January 2nd, February 2nd, March 2nd, April 2nd.
Oh, my. All right, you got me there.
I'm sorry.
There's 9 days in the month of April because it's the year 2024 and April begins with a 4. There's 9 dates in April where if you put, like today, 4/24/24. If you read it backwards, it's 4/24/24. There's 9 days in April that are like that. You can read it backwards and forwards. It's the same date.
I was unaware of that one. I got to check that one out.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim. Okay, I'll let you go on another call. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Keep up the great work.
Sure. Take care.
Okay,
Bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code 509. That's 509. Go ahead.
Well, hello there, Jim. This is Art over in the left coast in Washington State.
How you doing, Art?
I'm doing well, sir. Got a couple of questions. First off, excuse me. As you may recall, we have your trust. We have trust by another company that Ray Brooks was with. And we named it, both trusts are the same name. Now, if we were to, what kind of complications will that run into, or will we run into?
As long as you don't fund one of the two trusts, it will create no problem at all. So you could create two trusts. They could have the same name. You could apply for an EIN number using that very same name. You'll get into trouble if you try to fund both trusts. But if you decide you're going to utilize one trust and not utilize the other and not fund that other one, then you have no problem at all.
Can we change the name to the, say, for example, the trust that we have with you?
Which trust, ours or the other one?
Yours. If we change the name,
you could change the name, but I wouldn't make any changes just now.
Okay.
Or if you make a change, if you make a change, please do not destroy your current trust, because there's a possibility you could be in the bank in a matter of days, and you don't want to be in limbo because you destroyed your original trust and you're waiting to execute your new trust, which may not even be delivered to you yet. So I wouldn't make any changes right now anyway. If it's not getting into the weeds too much, why do you want to change the name of your trust?
Well, I'm just curious, kind of concerned that if we were to use, the second or the first trust, that maybe
you got no problem as long as you do not fund that trust. It's dormant. You have no problem.
Can you sell that other trust to somebody?
No.
No.
Nope. That's your trust with your information in it. Now, for a nominal fee, you could probably get a paralegal or someone to amend it for someone else and then, and sell it to them. You could probably do that. But if you're holding these currencies and you go to the bank and you exchange your currency, that's an example of something you just ought to walk away from.
Right. Okay.
You're going to have plenty of money. You're not going to need to sell the dormant trust. Once we acquire this money, we forfeit time to make money. But once we acquire the money, then time becomes a precious commodity. We don't want to spend it doing stuff we don't need.
Well, makes sense. Too much sense. Okay. The other question I have is that, I'm not sure if this is appropriate for the forum, but if a situation were to come about that a sibling sells their home, and there'll be several $1,000s that would be, available for that individual, would it be beyond comprehension to have that money for her to put into your trust that we have with you to protect it for her, and then utilize the you're flirting with a little bit of trouble. The trust is not plungible that way. This trust is established for you particularly. The only thing in that trust designed to assist others is the gift subtrust. You can't start commingling third-party money in your trust. Not only could that create a problem for them, that could create a problem for you. So you can't be all things to everybody. This trust has been established for you personally, your assets, and again, the only part of that trust which is designed to help someone else is the gift subtrust. So unless you are gifting currencies or gifting something to someone else, there's no way they can. And if someone gives you something personally and you decide you want to put it in the trust, let's say you buy a car from someone and you pay cash for it. It's just a personal transaction. Then you want to transfer the car to the trust. You can do that, but you can't accept gifts from other individuals and place them in the trust. You're going to create a problem by doing that. Okay. Well, that's very salient. I will disregard. So that individual would be advisable to get their own trust then.
Absolutely. This trust provides substantial benefits in a number of areas, but you have to stay in the box or you forfeit much of those benefits, if not all of them.
Okay, so the purchase of your trust by them would be done after the sale of the home, where they have the fluidity.
Well, I would suggest that what they do is utilize our deferred payment arrangement, establish the trust. If they sell their home, presumably they're going to be buying another home. If that's in fact the case,
then they will utilize one of the sub-trusts within our trust to own the new home.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm not sure whether they would be, they would be moving to a state south of us and sitting over there as a Lone Star and residing with relative.
I would suggest you have that individual contact me, and we can discuss their specific situation, okay?
Okay. Well,
right.
I would have her son contact you.
Okay. Good enough.
Because he would be the proper attorney. Okay. Thank you so much, my friend. You are awesome. Keep on keeping on. Bye for now.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code 318. That's 318.
Hello, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Muhammad, and I've listened to your call a couple of times. My question is, do I have to can I be my own trustee of the trust?
You can be the trustee of a revocable trust, but you cannot be the trustee. Right, and the reason being is if you are the trustee, then you have no privacy or asset protection or any tax benefit.
Okay, next question. If I get a trust from you and during the exchange, I go to exchange money, do I have to take the trustee with me when I exchange into the U.S. dollar and put the money into the trust?
The trustee must be present along with the settlor and that would be the case if you were purchasing a home as well. Because if the asset is going into the trust, the trustee must acknowledge that the trust is accepting that asset. The trustee can't decide whether or not you want to place an asset in the trust or whether you want to purchase a home or a car. But the trustee is necessary in order to transfer the asset into the trust. Now, if you have a trustee that's completely and totally uncooperative, you simply replace the trustee. So that shouldn't be a problem. But, yeah, the trustee needs to be present when assets are going into the trust. And remember, when you go to the bank to do your exchange, you're not only negotiating the exchange of the currency, you also are establishing a trust bank account at the point of exchange. And, of course, the trustee would need to be there because the bank account would have the name of the trust, the name of the trustee with his signature, and the name of the settlor, you, with your signature. So the trustee would need to be present.
Okay. So that, from what I'm gathering about this, I'm still learning about trust. When you have a trustee, that person got to be someone that you can 1,000% trust because they basically have control over all your assets, right?
Well, hence the term trustee. However, that's not the case. And this is the example I like to give people when they pose that question, and that's a legitimate question. You, as the settlor, will have the trust, the bank documents, the investment documents, the checking account, and all the titles. Everything will be in your physical possession. So the trustee can't do anything without the documents, and in many cases, he can't do anything without your knowledge and consent. Think of the trust as a safe, and everything in that trust is in that safe. You and the trustee have the combination to the safe, but the safe is in your home. So the only way the trustee could have access to the documents would be with your knowledge and consent because it's in your home. Now, you could say, well, couldn't the trustee break into my home and open the safe and take something? Yes, I guess that's possible. The trustee could do something without your knowledge and consent that they shouldn't do, but that would be the case whether you have a trust or not. That person will go to jail. As a matter of fact, it's a felony for that trustee to disclose what's in an irrevocable trust absent a court order.
But they have a check. They have your checking account and your debit card to your account, and they have access to write checks without. I mean, it may be fraudulent. They can't. It's against the law, but they can do it. Write checks without you knowing anything been written, right?
Again, if all of that's in your possession, no, they couldn't do that. Now, if they could figure out a way to steal from you, I guess that's possible, which is, of course, why you want to pick someone you can trust. But it's extremely difficult for the trustee to do anything without your knowledge and consent.
Oh, okay. So I would have the checkbook to the trust account, and
he doesn't have
the
anything.
Trustee. But okay, so when it get ready, time for me to write a check. When it's time for me to write a check to go buy a car or anything, will I have to have the trustee to sign the check also?
Yes. There's several ways that this could be done. You could have an automatic monthly transfer from your trust bank account to your personal checking account, or you could simply have the trustee sign, say, a half a dozen checks in the checkbook, which is in your possession, and then each month you could simply write a check for whatever amount you wanted to deposit into your personal checking account. There are a number of ways it can be done.
Okay, I got you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Certainly. Yes, sir. Bye-bye now. Okay, our next call is area code 860. That's 860. Go ahead.
Jim.
John.
Can you hear me, Jim?
How you doing?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. Jim, I still don't have the stuff that you sent, or you were going to send.
Hold on. Okay. It's probably not something we can discuss on the line. I'm going to call you right after this call.
Okay.
I'll call you right after this call, okay?
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Okay. Our next caller is area code 832. That's 832. Go ahead.
Yes. Hey, good morning, Jim. How you doing? This is Ray Willingham here. Willingham here in Houston, Texas. I've been listening to you for about 4 years, and I appreciate your call. But I do have a non-trust question. I was hearing a lot about the anticipation about May, this happening in May. My question is, how can that happen if they do not have an accession to join the WTO? Because are you planning for this to happen in May because they're going to meet with the WTO in May?
In my mind, all of this is already done. We just are unaware of it. If they're ready to go, believe me, if they've done everything they need to do and they're ready to reinstitute their currency, this flips the switch, and these organizations are going to want to embrace Iraq and their ascension. Whether it's the BRICS nations, whether it's the WTO, they're going to want, whether it's some of the Mideastern baskets, they're going to, like I said, this is going to flip the script, and they're the ones that are going to be banging on Iraq to join them.
Okay, so they have to have their new rate first in order to join the WTO, or do they do not
have to have a new rate. What I'm saying is when they're about to release the rate, or shortly after they've released the rate, there'll be a line of people that are begging for them to join. The World Trade Organization, and I'll tell you, look, the United States, of all countries, sponsored China to get into the World Trade Organization. What did China do? Turned right around and devalued their currency to corner the international trademarks, but they didn't get kicked out of the WTO. The WTO wants countries that trade and that have a currency. And that's going to be the case with Iran.
Correct. Okay. And then the second question is about the Vietnamese dung. Do you see the dung rate higher than the 47 cents, or do you project it to be just what it is?
I'll take 47 cents in a heartbeat. But Vietnam has been very quietly building its economy. Vietnam has recently also, in the last few years, found a very large oil reserve off the coast of North Vietnam. They have an indigenous plant. It's an excellent sugar substitute with no side effects. They've been trading a lot with China. It's been kind of a closed system. So I think that the Iraqi dinar is the catalyst for these dominoes to fall, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Vietnamese dong go this year. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions that I have. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Certainly. Okay, our next caller is area code 954. That's 954. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. Hector in Florida. How are you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have a little bit of, confusion because there's been over a period of time in the calls discussing whether the U.S. has any power over the RV, and basically you say no, and you've been saying that everything is done and is ready, but Sudani just met with Biden, and he wrote his little folder with whatever God knows what was in there he was trying to show. So that tells me he needs to prove something to the U.S., which is we know that everything is, it's been taken care of, all the banking issues and all the money laundering. So that tells me that, yes, the U.S. has a lot to say whether that happens or not. But over a period of time, there's been a lot of back and forth, yes or no.
What's going on with the U.S. is they're still operating under the SWIFT system, and the United States is the reserve currency for most central banks globally, and they want to put a sanction on certain of the Iraqi banks. So I think the IMF does things like they threaten to countries and say, well, we're not going to extend your loan. This happens all the time. Basically what they're saying is, come in, we need to talk to you and resolve issues. I believe that the issues that the United States had with certain of the Iraqi banks that were not utilizing the U.S. dollar the way they were supposed to has been resolved, which is why Sudani and Alak are basically saying, get ready, it's coming.
Okay, but I also heard that when they met, this whole war started, with Israel, and apparently Sudani was not aware, and he was showing videos of the missiles or whatever it is that they sent from Iraq. Obviously,
yeah, I mentioned that in my call. There was some activity in Iraq that they were not happy about. Remember, there is still Iranian influence. There's still Shia influence. There's still certain militia people there that have to be dealt with. I don't know if I mentioned it on the call, but I do think that part of Iran's calculus is that a war in the Middle East could postpone, at the very least, the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. Iran knows that when that currency reinstitutes, their pilfering of Iraq is over. And they're going to need to continue basically to use Iraq as their little piggy bank. So I think that's not the main reason. I think it's part of their calculus. In my opinion, it's not going to work. I think it's done. I just think we don't know it yet. I think it's all done, in my opinion.
Okay. All right, so then we go back to everything is done. If they already cleared that up, well, as far as the banking issues with Biden and all that, I think everything. There's nothing else. No.
I don't think just some of the things that Sudani and Alak are saying. It's almost as they're almost saying it in past tense, which tells me that they resolved whatever the issues were. And Iran is just a poison pill that is going to have to be dealt with. Unfortunately, we have the wrong administration in there that just don't have the guts to drop the hammer on Iran. They don't have to go to war with Iran. There's a lot of things they can do. They lifted all of the sanctions on Iran, which gave Iran the money to do what they're doing right now. So, it's unfortunate that this collection of idiots is running the White House right now, but people are free to dispute me on that. But the facts are the facts. I mean, everything that's happened in the last – if 3 years ago I told you we'd be looking at 20-25% accumulated inflation over 3 years, the border would be wide open. There'd be 10 million illegals streaming across the border. We'd be looking at war, the assault on Israel, what's going on in Taiwan. If I said all that was going to happen, people would say, no, that'll never happen. Well, it happened, So unless we make a change, it's not going to happen. But I don't think it's going to affect the currency because I think Iraq is on a glide path to move forward. And one thing I will say, China is really, really aggressive to complete this new Silk Road initiative. And China's economy is not in good shape. It's not really in good shape. And they need Iraq to complete the Silk Road initiative because Iraq is the real doorway between the East and the West. So I just don't think anything's going to stop what happens in Iraq.
Okay. And just to mention, I guess Sudani also met with executives from Chase, and that's a good thing. It's a sign that they keep looking into,
Sudani, he's a busy guy. He's doing what needs to be done. Okay. Take
care. Man. Let's hope and pray that this happens soon then. Thanks again.
Me too, brother. Bye-bye now.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, our next caller is area code 727. That's 727. Go ahead.
Good morning, Jim. This is also Jim from sunny Florida.
Yes, sir, Jim. How you doing?
Doing great. We're in sunny Florida. Beautiful day. Your second caller talked about the LOP of removing the 3 zeros from a $25,000 note. And I've heard your opinion, and I value that opinion. But question, having gone through the Kuwaiti experience and your international experience, what is the international precedent or authority on this subject? In other words, what authority can Iraq, while they're doing it internally, does their authority to change their currency internally impact the international? Who regulates that, and what precedent and law can we look to?
The CBI of Iraq makes the ultimate determination, or to say the board of directors of the CBI of Iraq make the ultimate decision. Their economy is moving. The revenues are growing. They don't have sufficient USD to fund that 3-year budget, let alone fund the international contracts that it's signed to rebuild its infrastructure. All of these nations, in my opinion, signed all of those contracts with the understanding that the dinar would revalue, and in my opinion, they have a pretty good idea what the rate's going to be. The same for all of the international central banks that are holding the Iraqi dinar as a gold derivative. Then we have the basket where they do currency swap. They're doing all of this. They wouldn't be doing that if they were operating under the assumption that the Iraqi dinar is going to remain in a program rate. They're doing this under the two assumptions, in my opinion. Assumption number one is that they're going to reinstate their currency, and assumption number two, they know where that currency, what the Basel IV compliant value of that currency against the U.S. dollar is going to be. Nothing else makes sense to me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but nothing else makes sense other than that. You don't go into a contract to be paid by someone who cannot pay you unless their currency revalues. You don't do it. So that's why I think we're there.
While that speaks to the exchange rate, it doesn't. How does that speak to the LOP, or the removal of the 3 zeros, and significantly reducing?
Well, the 3 zeros were added as the provisional for their provisional currency because of hyperinflation. All right. One of the things people that have said it's not going to happen is they've said they've got too much currency out there. There's too much dinar out there, so they can't possibly revalue. Well, they can revalue if they remove the 3 zeros, making a 25,000 dinar note a 25 dinar note. They can do that, and that's what they're going to do.
Are we going to be asked to exchange our 25,000 for a new currency, a 25 dinar note?
Some people say that's what's going to happen. I don't believe that's going to be the case. And I never have believed that's going to be the case, and that's not what happened in Kuwait. Although Kuwait was a little bit different situation, agreed. But, again, why would central banks and hedge funds and currency speculators be picking up the dinar if they thought that the lifting of the 3 zeros, which had to happen domestically, was going to happen internationally? It just doesn't make sense to me.
So bottom line, if the exchange RV goes to 1-to-1 and I took a $25,000 note to my bank, JP Morgan, they would readily exchange that for $25,000.
That's at 1-to-1. That's exactly what they should do.
Okay. Thank you very much. Makes me feel better.
Well, I'm not the, how do I say this? What's that? I'm not the Oracle of Delphi. This is my opinion. But again, it makes no sense to do all of the things they've done and enter into all these contracts and all of these central banks acquiring the currency for them to just say, well, now it's worth nothing. Yeah, okay, it went up in value, but the 3 zeros are gone for everyone. It doesn't make sense that they would do that.
Well, that's why I was asking the question is what's the authority and legal precedent, because sometimes the legal issues don't make sense.
That's true. Well, that's true. That's true. But smarter people than me say it ain't going to happen, so I'm with them.
I agree with you and the other people. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code 301. That's 301. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. I have a question. Well, I actually have two questions.
Right.
One, I purchased the trust, and what I did was I got the EIN number for my master trust in, let's say, 1 month, 1 quarter, and then turned around and got the EIN number for my gift trust in another quarter. Will that be a problem?
No. They're 2 separate trusts. No problem at all.
Okay, because I was told that I must get the master and the gift trust both within the same quarter, by another paralegal.
The only reason they would say that is for tax reasons. But unlike all of the other trusts in the package, you are the trustee of the gift subtrust, which makes it different than the master trust and all of the other subtrusts of which you are not the trustee. So that shouldn't be an issue at all. I have not yet gotten an EIN number for my gift subtrust, and I'm not worried about it because I'm not going to fund the gift subtrust initially. I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to negotiate my exchange. The USD is going to go into the trust bank account. I'm not even going to mention that a subtrust or that the gift subtrust exists. And if you read the exchange protocol that came with your trust package, it says don't even discuss that. You just walk in with a master trust. I will then acquire the EIN number for the gift subtrust before I go back to the bank to transfer money from the master trust to the individual accounts that I will be establishing in the gift subtrust.
Okay, thank you for clarification on that.
The other thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish first. Okay.
What I was going to say is once the dinar reinstitutes and we stop marketing the trust, then issues like this are what we're going to be dealing with. Our existing clients that have a trust that want to go through the exchange process, funding the subtrusts, funding the gift subtrust, etc.
Okay. My second question is the actual purchase of the dinar. If, let's say, I didn't have the reserves to purchase it and I had my brother or sister purchase the dinars for me, will it be a problem when I go to transfer it?
Did the purchase or the invoice have your name or their name as the purchaser on it?
Their name as the purchaser.
Okay, then what they need to give you is a simple gift letter gifting you the currency now, pre-RV. Then when you go to the bank to do your exchange, you'll present the currency, you'll present the invoice for the purchase, and then you will show that the currencies were gifted to you by the purchaser.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, bye-bye now, Pat.
Bye.
Okay, our next caller is area code 209. That's 209. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. This is Sheila in Oklahoma.
Yes.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
One of them, there was a lot of hoopla about the Sudani Alak visit, to the U.S. There was a statement said that Alak was going to be retiring on the 20th and after the visit. And so there was a statement where he was addressing their country that was scheduled on Sunday. A lot of us watched it. For the most part, it was kind of a nothing burger. So, and he's still currently in his position. So my understanding was that he was going to address the country. A lot of people thought, since they were retiring him, that he was going to be the one to announce the exchange rate. What is your take on that?
It's probably logical to assume that the change in the exchange rate would be announced by the governor of the CBI. And let's assume for the sake of discussion that he retires tomorrow. Well, who's going to name the new governor?
Donnie, are you asking me, or are you?
Yeah, the hypothetical. Well, yes, it's going to be Sudani. So what's he going to appoint? He's going to put someone in there that's going to do what he wants done. As a matter of fact, you could even make the argument that maybe Alak, for some reason, is dragging his feet, and Sudani told him, I'm going to have to let you go, so I'll do the honorable thing and let you retire. We don't know about what's going on behind the scenes, but what we do know is that if he does retire for whatever reason, it's Sudani that will put his replacement in there.
Okay, and then another question. Yes, that does make sense. Thank you. My understanding is that Iran is going to join BRICS, and don't they have to be kind of like on their best behavior? Aren't they supposed to be getting along with others and so on and so forth? I'm just curious why they.
In a way, it might calm them down, although they're just bad dudes. They just are. And they probably shouldn't be able to join the BRICS. I think one of the reasons that they would be invited to the BRICS is one of the things the BRICS is, much the way the United Nations is a pushback from the United States, which was at least viewed up until recently as the sole remaining superpower. So part of the BRICS is just utilize our own currencies as reserve currencies rather than the U.S. dollar. And, of course, what Biden did was exactly the wrong thing. He stopped drilling for oil here, and he printed $6 trillion, which even weakened the dollar even further. So either he's an idiot or he's got nefarious objectives, because everything he's doing is killing this country. So I can see Iran. As a matter of fact, I can see Iran joining the BRICS just to thumb their nose at the United States. They milked us for everything they could with Obama and now Biden, and now that it looks like Biden is done, it's time to move on.
Okay, and then that being said, you had mentioned earlier that Obama and his administration had basically stopped the revaluation many years before. So what makes you think that the current administration can't stop it now? Because we all know that Biden.
I don't think the United States has the juice anymore. They don't have the troops there. They're not protecting them from Iran. At least Iran is not acting like they're going to invade Iraq. The United States just doesn't have the juice anymore. Plus, Iraq is now in a position where they have support of the entire global community. They don't need the United States. And what was the strength of the United States? The U.S. dollar. What's happened to the dollar? Biden's destroying it. So,
okay, clarification purposes for the sanctions. There was supposed to be, 28 sanctioned banks. They haven't really came out and said that the sanctions have been lifted. Many of us think that they have, but what is your take on the sanctions?
I think the comments made by Alak and Sudani are that they're to proceed, and to the extent these sanctions are still in place, it's not going to impede. The dollar's going to be done. So they've lost their power. What control do they have if once the currency revalues, the U.S. has no control or power? Correct. They're not utilizing the dollar anymore. Right now, they're only utilizing the dollar to the extent that the government of Iraq needs it. The citizens can't use the dollar, but once they got their own sovereign currency, they don't need the U.S. dollar except for a reserve currency. The U.S. wants to give them a hard time and say, well, the hell with you. We'll just use another currency as our reserve currency.
Okay. So all of that being said, you feel that it's probably inside about maybe 30 days or less that they will be.
I mean, that's the math to me. Why would they say what they're saying and do what they're doing if they're not going to finish the job? It's just remember, they're a parliamentary system. They don't have to wait for the next election to defend what they've done. They can give them the boot tomorrow. And I think they're going to anger the people. And remember Sauter, he had them in the green zone protesting every day. Well, he's sitting back watching this. If they drop the ball on this, Sauter's going to come out stronger than ever. So they need to get this done.
Right, and their parliamentary went into recess yesterday for the next 2 months. So, I mean, I know that the parliamentary, as you said, doesn't make that decision, but they're in recess as of today for 2 months. So that means basically everything's done. The CBI comes out, they make the announcement, and then we move forward. And
it's the CBI's call. The only thing the Parliament did was they established a committee to oversee what was going on with the CBI. But at the end of the day, the CBI, the board of directors of the CBI will make the determination, and the Parliament can't force them to do it or stop them from doing it. And the fact that they're not even in session makes their position even weaker.
Okay, that was all my questions. I appreciate it.
Okay, sure. Take care. Bye-bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code 615. That's 615. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. Just question of clarification. What is the status of the Executive Order 13303? Maybe you covered it already, but I just wanted to get clarification on it.
I don't think 13303 has been renewed, which means Iraq can utilize its currency.
Okay.
The other
thing, excuse me. Go ahead.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay.
Short answer.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. The other thing, can you add me to your long list of return calls? I have a couple of questions on the gifting trust.
Okay, hang on a sec. Let me get your number down here. 15. I'm sorry, I forgot your first name. I'm sorry.
Bill.
Bill? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Bill. I will get to you. I will get to you today. Let me put it that way.
Today, tomorrow's fine. I know you're up to your ears in calls, so.
Yeah, this has got to end soon. I'm too old for all of this. It's just.
What was it Reverend Redford said one? I'm getting too old for this blank.
Yeah, something like that. My favorite Robert Redford one was he was being interviewed by someone trying to explain to a doctor why he didn't think it was a good idea to have plastic surgery. And the doctor just did, Johnny Carson looked at the camera like, why the hell would he want to move anything?
True.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll give you a call sometime today, okay?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jim. Appreciate it.
Okay, Bill. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Well, Bill was our last caller for today. Again, thanks so much for listening to the call. The things we discussed are of interest, and time is short, in my opinion. You can contact us by either email or phone if you'd like to get our initial no-obligation package. Again, the package does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're under no obligation to do so. You can contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. You can contact us by email, which is Trusts with an S, Unlimited LLC @gmail.com. Trusts with an S, Unlimited LLC @gmail.com. Or you can contact us by our phone service, 307-274-4122. 307-274-4122. Our next call, of course, will be next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature happens between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and have a great week. Bye-bye now.